Welcome to Mainstream with Harpreet Singh Toor. आप सबनु प्यार भरी सत श्री अकाल, नमस्कार, आदाब and shalom. I always say, get in touch with me, email me at hstour@gmail.com, and make sure, whatever your thoughts are, whatever is in your mind, just send it to me and I will be more than happy to answer your question. But also at the same time, like I always say, if I'm sitting here, I'm neither Democrat nor Republican. But today we have a gentleman who is going to be our guest, and he is he's actually challenging the sitting mayor of New York City, Eric Adams. He already has his hat in the, like they say, he has his horse in the race. It's the beginning, it's a long march till June 25th or 24th of 2025. He will tell us when the primary is. But the important thing is that he was the controller, and he did run previously, but he had to withdraw his.
No, I didn't. No.
Okay, so he actually was the controller of New York City, and after that, now he has thrown his hat in again for to challenge Eric Adams, because of the policies and the differences in policies, how he views New York City should be run. So let us talk to him, ask him his vision about New York City based on, because he was the monitoring the budget, he was the check writer for the New York City for more than $100 billion when he was the controller. So let me first introduce him. His name is Scott Stringer. Thanks, Mr. Controller, coming to the show. Thank you very much. So you heard me, what we're talking about here. First, let the people hear what you have to offer, where you differ, and then from there we'll take on.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show, and it's really great to see you. You've been an amazing community leader in the South Asian community, really throughout the state, and we've been friends for a very long time. And look,
thanks for that.
This campaign is really about the heart and soul of New York City. It was not my intention, after I lost for mayor, to run for mayor again. I actually wanted Eric Adams to be successful. I wanted to believe that he could build real affordable housing. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I believe that after COVID, he could create education opportunities for all of our children. That didn't happen. I hoped that we could solve the crime problem, aligning not just good policing, but also the most robust mental health program in the history of the city. That didn't happen. So if he couldn't get it done, I believe that I was next best, given my experience in the state legislature, as Manhattan Borough President, as City Controller for 8 years, to make this race. And I am running because I love the city. I was born and raised here. My kids are going to public school here. And I want to see this city better for our seniors, for all of the different groups in the city, especially the South Asian community that works hard every day to make a better life for families and children. So I'm in this race. We're exploring the possibility of running. I haven't officially announced, but we have raised millions of dollars, thousands of donors from all 5 boroughs. So it's great to be on this show and talk about issues.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Based on your experience as a controller and looking at what Eric Adams is doing, let us look at education, because education is the fundamental tool to make the lives better for the people who are on the fringes or who are outside the circle, if I may say so, financially and education wise. What kind of idea you think that you will implement, which Eric Adams and you might have discussed or not even discussed, but you have those ideas, but he doesn't?
Well, look, we have to overhaul the bureaucracy at the Department of Education. The turnover at the department has hurt our kids. There isn't a real sense of challenge and unity of opinion as to how we deal with our children who are academically accelerating, but also the children who are being left behind and are struggling. We have parents that struggle economically, their kids struggle, kids need mental health services, especially after COVID. We need to make sure that we retain our teachers. 20% of our teachers leave after 5 years. It broke my heart that in the public school that my children go to, one of their favorite teacher, young teacher, went and looked at another career because the bureaucracy of teaching really knocked her down. I got to change this. I got to change it for all of our children. And the best thing to do is do what was happening. Make sure we expand 3K and pre-K, because that not only keeps parents able to afford a robust education, but let's expand it to universal after school. Let's create 2 pillars, one for the very young, one for the kids, especially those teenagers after school who need something to do so they stay out of trouble, and let's have the ability to work on this. Just in this last budget, they cut hundreds of millions of dollars from pre-K. Why would you do that? Why would you not give our kids every opportunity to succeed? And I would go a step further. It's pre-K, it's 3K, but we need to build a robust child care program. I talked about doing this some years ago. They didn't listen. We need to engage in a real child care program so that more women could be in the workplace, more families can earn money, kids can be taken care of. And look, let's face it, the people who make a lot of money in this city get to have all those things. The people who struggle, which is a lot of people in New York,
do struggle, no
they
doubt
don't
about it.
have any of this. So when a parent throws in money for an extra program, the ones that can afford it don't think about it. But how hard is it for a parent who can't even afford a graduation present or a graduation gown? And we need to step up and fill that gap.
It's really interesting that you're talking about that, the after school program and other, because I, as you said, and I live and breathe within that part of the community, and I see it. The parents, especially where you are single parents, both male and female, it has nothing to do with any particular gender. They have to look at their schedule around the kids' schedule, okay? And if that after-school program is there, they have more continuity of their jobs. They have more sources or resources to put the food on the table and other things like you're talking about it. So when it comes down to putting those things together, he was talking about the budget and the money. What was he talking about? Was he talking about that there is less money now, or I don't see there is a growth actually in the taxes coming in?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. See, and this is why as controller, I know this budget, I know the agencies, and this is what I knew. Last year's budget battle was all made up. He wanted to blame migrants and everybody else about this $11 billion budget deficit. It turned out we had a $3.8 billion surplus. He wanted to get rid of libraries in our communities. He wanted to get rid of 3K, as we talked about, and he wanted to defund all of the not-for-profits in our communities. Once he made that pronouncement, Harpreet, everything froze, right? You're not going to start a new program for children if you think your budget's going to be cut by 15%. You're not going to hire more personnel, even though we need to, if the budget is being cut. And so he went through this whole fake budget dance. Everyone had to shut down for a year, and then you know what happened? He got credit, or he thought he got credit, for restoring cuts he never should have made. This is immaturity. This is not good government. And that's why...
This is a politics of, how should I put it down? I even won't call it a politics. It's sort of like cheap shots.
I just think it's not governing. It's taking the easy way out. It's trying to play the budget game. But he played the budget game in Albany, he got zapped. He played the budget game with Biden, he got zapped. He tried to play the budget game with City Council, they zapped him. The point is, we need a mayor who is actually going to manage the finances of the city. For 8 years, I manage this budget. I audited agencies. I know where the bodies are buried. I know the work that we have to do in each agency. I put agencies on watch lists. I held them to the highest standard. I was no nonsense when de Blasio was mayor. And I think we need a controller who truly understands the finances of the city, someone who's not afraid to step up and say, okay, we got to go do it this way, and build consensus, build relationships, and that's what I'm going to do as mayor.
And also there is another issue which we're going to discuss. So we are going to take a small break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about it, that how Asians and South Asians, they prefer these specialized schools. They put in so much efforts, but somehow that is also being compromised. So I'm going straight to him to answer the question which I posed before about these specialized schools, where we, the South Asians and Asians, we strive so much, the parents, to get the kids in there by providing the tuitions and everything, and all of a sudden now that is being changed. So that is something you want to share your thoughts on that?
Well, look, every parent wants what's best for their kids, especially people who come to this country and they look at the specialized school as a way of making sure kids can sort of break through and go to their potential. Eric Adams, in fact, said he was going to have more specialized schools. He has no specialized schools except what we already have. We have to do two things at the same time. We have to make sure that we have schools so that kids who have great academic potential and work hard can have every opportunity to accelerate. At the same time, we have to make sure that children, for a multitude of reasons, who are not accelerating, we also need to make sure there are schools and programs to get them to where they have to be. So if you're somebody who will thrive in a specialized school or curriculum, give the kids what they need. Keep them in the public school system. If you have kids who are suffering, whether it's from mental health, perhaps a learning disability, a tragedy in the family, don't give up on them. Get all the kids at the same place at the end of the day. And that's what I want to do as mayor. I want to make sure that we have a plan for every child. And that is what I'm going to do.
And also, I don't know if you ever thought of this or not, but coming as an immigrant, New York City is a city of immigrants. Sometimes even the parents don't know how to deal with the school issues. Have you ever thought about that, how to make the parents also aware of certain things which are available to the kids, but the parents, because of their gap of communication, lack of English knowledge, they may not be aware of it?
Look, I have to say, as the only candidate for mayor who actually has kids in the public school today, real time today, I can tell you, for my wife and I, who are very privileged people, right, how difficult it is as one family unit, two parents, navigating the care of our children in the public school system. And you're 100% right. Imagine being a single parent and you have to pick up your kid at 2 o'clock or 2:50 or 3 o'clock and there's no after school. How do you get that done? You don't. That's why after school is so important, not just for the development of the kid, but for the parents. We've got to break down this bureaucracy because it's impacting not just the parents, but it's impacting the children. I see it every day and I see how difficult it is. But you know, if I can't pick up my child from school, you know what I say? Elise, will you pick up the kids? We have 2 people with 2 kids. That's a big thing. We have a lot of kids, migrant children, children whose parents are not together. I mean, they fall behind, not because parents don't love them or care for them, they do. They just don't have the ability to service the children. And that's why education and the billions we spend has got to be invested in, and I think you're right, in maintaining the ability of the parents to check in with their kids, and that is critical.
And also, you know, another factor to it is that some of the parents actually end up losing a better paying job because they cannot, you know, maintain that kind of.
And you know who loses? The children.
Yeah. Yeah.
Children lose.
Exactly. Coming down to the other issues which New York City, because I know we have you have to leave soon. Um, Policing, that's another aspect which is there are people. There was a big issue about defund the blue, and then the people realize that that's not everybody, but extreme left or extreme right, and for me, neither one is right. Okay, so policing, how do you think it can be better to reach out to the community and interaction between the cops and the community to make the community safer and more communication wise coming closer?
We have people who say don't hire any more cops, no cops, no cops. They're wrong. We need police. You have other people who say police, police. We don't need any mental health services. They're wrong. As mayor, I'm going to align policing and mental health services to address the issues of homeless in underground, deal with mental health issues, which is why you're seeing a lot of crimes committed. And I'm going to make it very clear, we're going to make this city safe through a combination of efforts. I grew up here in the 1970s when there were 2,000 murders a year. My mother used to say to me as a young boy, please stay in the conductor car because it's so dangerous. And I'm glad to say that for many decades, the kids we were raising today didn't know that there was a conductor car. Now parents are going back to what my mom said to me a generation ago, stay in the conductor car. You can't have a city like this. We need safety. We need strong policing with strong mental health services. One should not preclude the other. We need to train police. We need to address civil rights issues like ending stop and frisk, because that is something that's not tenable in our city. But then we need to protect people as well. Everywhere I go, especially in the Asian and South Asian community, people are afraid of the hate crimes, just like in the Jewish community. They're afraid of random attack. We should own up to the fact that we have felony assaults that are very dangerous, and then we should go address it.
Yeah, we definitely have, being a Sikh also, like you mentioned, we were also target, especially after 9/11, we were right in the front. So when it comes down to that, I personally believe that when we're talking about the schools, there has to be something changed in the curriculum within the schools. Do you really think the mayor should be doing something, or if you are there, you will work on something where the diversity is taught to the kids when they go to school?
Look, we have to teach our kids from the earliest age to respect each other. We're the most diverse city in the world. We speak some 200 languages. You may remember when I was controller and we were going to pilot a program for halal food and kosher food.
Oh yeah,
Remember when
that.
I brought in everybody who ate halal food, everyone who ate kosher food? These were communities that may not see eye to eye on every issue, but we worked together to create a program for halal and kosher. That's what mayors should be doing, building coalitions, getting people around the table to solve our issues. And that's the same with our kids. Why do we want holidays in the public schools? Why do I like them? Not just to honor a culture or heritage, but to teach children
What it is about.
About why am I having a holiday that impacts the Asian or South Asian community for my kids? Because they come home and they tell me about Lunar New Year. Or why, when we take off Passover, do other kids say, oh, okay, that's a Jewish holiday? That's how we start breaking bread. But we also need to understand that hate has no place here. And you are not born to hate. You hate because you're taught to hate. And the public schools is definitely a place that we should be dealing with these issues.
And when we talk about, a little bit, before you leave, I would like to talk about presidential election, how we can not, because it's, Joe Biden, honestly, I loved him, I respected him, and I'm not, to be honest, happy that he dropped out. But whatever the reasons are, I have no control over that. Where do we stand with Kamala Harris now? What is your opinion? I will tell you before you answer that question. Way back, I said that the House definitely will become Democrat. Doesn't matter what happens. Those were my thoughts. So let us hear your thoughts on.
Well, look, I was very concerned about Joe Biden. Did an amazing job for our country. He's a real hero.
Oh, he's a great guy.
And I am very excited about Kamala Harris. She's raising hundreds of millions of dollars. She's going to take it to Donald Trump. You know, when you look at Kamala Harris and listen to her speak, and then you listen to that babbling idiot Donald Trump, the choice can't be more clear. But we Democrats are going to have to turn out like never before. In order to elect Hakeem Jeffries as Speaker of the House, it's going to be decided in New York, in the state. We need to win turn 3 congressional districts. We got to turn out Democrats. We have to participate in order to make change and to secure our future. Because a Trump presidency and a Republican Congress, I mean, I worry about our democracy.
You know, one thing which I just could not understand, you know, they don't talk about that much about Donald Trump's babbling, not answering the questions, not staying on the issues. His age, nobody talked about it. Why not?
Well, I mean,
I'm sorry, this is,
no, it seems
I don't know if you have the answer, but.
It seems pretty obvious to me. But look, people focus on campaigns now, in the last 100 days. Once the convention comes, the kickoff starts after Labor Day. That's traditionally the time. You know, we talk about these elections for years.
Oh, yeah.
And we talk about the mayor's race for years, but people focus on it in the last 60 days. So I'm very confident that we have a shot to take back the Congress and also to elect Kamala Harris president, which will really save and ensure our democracy for years to come.
Well, yeah, and Senate, I think it probably will be 50-50. You know, Democrats may lose one seat, I don't know, but I don't think the Republicans will gain majority.
We live in hope.
Well, you know, your time is almost up. You want to give your final thoughts before we take the break?
Again, I want to thank Harpreet for this wonderful opportunity to say hello to my friends in the South Asian community and beyond. I want you to know that this city is worth fighting for, and I'm going to give it everything I've got to make sure that this is a city for everybody. But, you know, it starts being on TV shows like this, and thank you for inviting me.
No, thanks for coming in. He will be leaving, but I will still be here, and we're going to talk more about the national politics and, of course, Olympics, gymnastics, female gymnastics and men's gymnastics. USA just won the gold again. So we're going to talk about that. We just swapped our guests. We are going to talk about, of course, we ended our previous guest with American politics. Now the new guest is definitely going to talk more, will take more deep dive into American politics. He has been on the show before also. But before I introduce him, I just want to mention two names which won bronze medal for India in pistol. One, of course, is Manu Bhaker, who missed the medal in Tokyo Olympics, and she was heartbroken, she was crying and everything. And the other one actually is a Sikh gentleman, Sarabjot Singh. And the story about him is that he used to travel 35 kilometers one way every day. So going 35 kilometers and coming back 35 kilometers, taking a bus, so that he can go to this teacher who was teaching him, or coach who was coaching him about the shooting. And when he was asked about this, about his achievement and everything, this is where, you really listen to it, you look at it, and then, your heart melts down. He said, well, hopefully now I will hope that I will be able to help my parents, my father and my mother, who are small farmers, to have a little easy and better life than what they had, because he was like, he will do his best to get me to go to the training. His sister, who happens to be in US, I don't know where she is right now, and I don't know if I will be able to find out, but if I did, then I will try to get her on the show. But congratulations to the families, and of course to the Indians who love this kind of sports and they are enjoying it. And on the other hand, US actually won a bronze in rugby. In almost 100 years, this is the first time that USA women won the rugby. I don't know how many people understand rugby. Rugby is very rough, very aggressive, and very tough game. You have to have not only the skills, but stamina and strength. If you don't have either one of them, then rugby is not your game. It's like, in kabaddi, you need all those things, like, football, wrestling and everything. That's how kabaddi is. Rugby is also like that. You have to have all those into it. And also, Miss Biles, she actually performed so good again after withdrawing from Tokyo Olympics that US women Olympic team won the gold medal again. They got silver in Tokyo Olympics in 2021, which was supposed to happen in 2020, but because of COVID, Olympics took place in 2021. And also one more thing, which I'm going to touch with this gentleman. I want to make one thing clear here. On social media, there was so much about, maligning one community, about, sabotaging the electric system in France and this and that. Yeah, the French government expected that there are going to be issues at the game, but they are looking at who can be the players who created those issues, cutting the fiber optic cables or putting those cables on fire to disrupt the high-speed rails. And also, when the power outage happened, it happened because of power supply and transformers. But somehow, the people who actually want to discredit one particular community, everybody, including not just here, but especially in India, the majority people in India who are ruling right now, they did everything to blame it on the Muslim community. And when I gave them the news, I contradicted it. They were not happy about it because they were like, oh, this is fake news. So yes, what is fake news? This gentleman, he has been here with us. So Charlie, let us start with fake news.
Fake news, okay.
Because we are actually sitting right now with AI at such a place. What do you expect could happen with the AI, where, like, Joe Biden's voice was generated to send messages to the people not to come out and vote? You know that, right? What
No, I didn't see that, but I've seen other things Vermont, where they were taking voices.
Yeah,
and
in Vermont they did it. So what do you think social media and AI will be abused in this campaign, presidential campaign?
I think there's going to be a lot of attempts to do it. And I mean, as you were saying, what they did in the primary is that they faked
Joe Biden's voice. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was convincing. I think they caught the guy.
And the guy got $100 for that.
Right.
Yeah, they did caught the guy. Yeah.
So, I mean, but you have other foreign countries who are trying to do that as well. I mean, 2016 they used Facebook and had a lot of false ads, and I think that's also going to happen because things are decentralized in terms of there's no longer one or two news sources. There are many news sources. And I guess what people are going to do is gravitate towards the information that they trust, and hopefully those don't get corrupted by fake.
Do you really believe that people will tune into the media which they trust, but not what they will get fed with the algorithm?
I think a lot of people lean into the sources of information that they trust, as opposed to generalized sources of information like the three major networks and their nightly news, the newspapers. I think it's way more. There are too many platforms right now that of sources of information.
So you are saying that people are coming back to the media the old way it used to be, the newspapers and the TV networks?
No, I think that they're in competition with these other sources, with these other influencers. And the rise of influencers on different social media platforms are what are driving information. And if people, if these influencers are honest, then the information can get out. But if they're not honest, then they're going to drive misinformation, which we've seen happening.
And
I mean, people. Look at different sources of people in the information business. They're just trying to make money, and
they don't care about the facts.
I think there are people that do, and I think some of the.
I'm not talking about the major, but I'm talking about the influencers. Alex Jones doesn't care about the facts.
No.
The other guy who was kicked out by Donald Trump.
But those are right.
Those are the influencers.
But those are right-wing influencers. There are other influencers as well. That either delve into politics or delve into fashion or other things. And if they are authentic and legitimate, then they're already going to be selling stuff based on the how many followers they have. But you take an example of Alex Jones. I mean, his followers are based on all false information, and hopefully he becomes bankrupt because.
No, he filed for bankruptcy, but
he's not bankrupt yet.
Not yet. He moved his money around and this and that. So I don't know how much bankrupt he will be. But for me, the question comes in now. All of a sudden, we have this new AI coming in on top of everything else. And that AI can be abused also.
Right.
Same way.
Right.
Right?
Right, because, I mean, you have to, right now, AI is developing, and there's a lot of images and sounds that it's producing. It's still, if you listen, the AI, examples of AI that I've heard maybe 6 months ago, you can tell a difference because people, the voices sound similar, but they're not nuanced. Yeah, AI.
You have to pay real attention to it, right?
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Now the question comes in, all of a sudden, between the last show when you were the guest and today, Joe Biden, withdrew his candidacy, and now we have Kamala Harris.
Right.
Okay. And what difference have you assessed, and based on your opinion, what do you see out there which I may be missing, or the people they may not have been paying attention to since the Kamala Harris came on board as a candidate?
Well, the change for her, to her as a candidate has definitely created a lot of interest in the campaign and invigorated the Democratic campaign. I personally was not happy with the process that Democratic officials went about trying to push Biden out. I thought it was, ultimately very disrespectful to him.
I don't agree with that either. I agree that it was very disrespectful, and I actually say two things. Number one, that debate, they were already gunning for him. That debate actually gave them something to hang on to and use that to kill him as a candidate.
I could see that, yeah.
Okay. And number two, I'm not sure if within rest of America, the Americans are ready to accept a female as a president.
I thought that. I'm not so sure about that right now. I think people are happy to have an alternative and a breath of fresh air. The same thing that the press has been selling for months is that Biden's too old, and they made Trump look youthful and invigorated, and
40 years
now
old.
that Joe Biden is not there anymore, then Donald Trump is the old guy.
We're going to talk about the age factor, because for me that is also something very interesting, that when Joe Biden was a candidate, they just talked about Joe Biden's age. They never talked about Donald Trump's age. Now Donald Trump is older, but that his age is not being discussed the way they discussed Joe Biden's age. We were talking about what is happening, what happened. I know we talked about, I think the last show we did was immediately after when the Trump got shot in the ear,
No, we weren't there. I was a little further.
After, I think we talked about it on the phone,
on
right?
the phone,
yeah,
right.
Yeah. So now they are saying that yes, it did happen, and Josh Hawley was, telling the FBI director to fire certain people, and FBI director told him that they are going to go through proper investigation, and they will definitely take an action on whosoever missed what missed, because there definitely was a lack of communication between the local police, what they were supposed to do, and they did not do it properly.
Right.
And FBI and the CIA,
Secret Service.
And Secret Service. Now the question is, all of a sudden, Trump got a boost from there.
Right.
After Joe Biden withdrew, now Kamala Harris all of a sudden is getting the boost, including the funding. Some of the people who were not providing funding for Joe Biden because of they were like, he's old, he cannot, debate properly, this and that, which was always his issue because he stutters.
Right.
Right? So I personally still believe that Joe Biden was capable of pulling out everything. But anyway, right now, he's not the candidate. So just focusing on Kamala Harris, American public, do you think they will accept her as a president?
Yes.
They will?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about the,
Because it's going to come down to a choice of either her or Donald Trump.
But the funny thing is, Joe Biden was old, Donald Trump was only 35, 40 years old. And they're not talking about his age.
Right.
Whereas they were talking day in, day out, 24 hours, Joe Biden is old, Joe Biden is old. Why do you think the media is not talking about that?
Because their agenda was to get rid of Biden. That was what their agenda was. They took a stand, and there were people earlier on that took a stand that Joe Biden was old and the Democratic Party needs to reinvigorate itself, neglecting the fact that Joe Biden has a good perspective on the direction that the Democratic Party as a whole should go to, and that he was influencing other politicians on how to achieve goals that the Democratic Party as a whole need to reach.
Which he achieved.
Right. But, you know, so my point of view of what the President Joe Biden has done is that people have, throughout his term, try to label him as a middle-of-the-road guy. My point of view is that he was the guy that looked for the middle ground and what the deal point was, not necessarily what was middle of the road, you know?
Yeah.
But whatever place, whatever issue that he could move the agenda forward and take care of issues and get the most people behind it, that was where his position was. Not that he was all over the map on things, but he wanted to get things done.
Yeah, look at immigration. He got the deal from a very, very right-wing senator to agree on immigration deal.
Right.
Who killed it? Trump.
Donald Trump, right.
Donald Trump. Nobody's talking about that.
No.
Nobody talked about that Joe Biden has the capability which you're talking about. Joe Biden has the capability which I always say, Mitch McConnell, I love him, but I don't like his policies. Okay? Even he said that Joe Biden is a nice guy. I don't agree with his policies, but he's a nice guy. Which means what? Which means even Mitch McConnell is, to me, is really, he knows that Biden will get something out of him too.
Right.
Which is so hard to get anything from Mitch McConnell.
Right.
And Joe Biden was able to get it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know? And people are not talking about it, not just discussing about it.
Because it doesn't serve it doesn't sell papers. It doesn't sell clicks. There's a vested interest by the media to keep people interested in consuming their information. And the more
so that they can make the money.
The more controversy they have, the more they will sell because it drives people's interests. So I'm sure there was a lot of, I'm not on social media, but I'm sure there was a lot of chatter on social media about Biden being too old. And I'm just observing the people who like to present themselves as being the wise people about politics. They felt, well, if there's a population that is unenthused and feels that Biden's too old, then maybe the Democrats should consider replacing him even after the primaries were done. And when Biden had his disaster of a debate, it just fueled the fire. And so much of the press started driving the issue. And it was like their agenda was to get rid of Biden. And hopefully create so much dissension within the Democrats that they would be able to keep selling more information out, to keep people's interests. I don't think they expected what happened, which was when Biden finally withdrew, for him to promote Kamala Harris as his successor, and the outpouring of money and interest. I think that caught a lot of people flat-footed. I think that there was parts of the media and parts of the Democratic establishment that thought that they could bring in other people and have an open primary and an open convention, a contested convention. And to me personally,
and there may be Republicans also, and some other foreign nations also were also looking at that kind of convention where they can have a candidate like Donald Trump who can be controlled from Moscow and from Beijing instead of from looking at the American
interest. But they also wanted the narrative of the Democrats fighting against each other. Then they would have drawn a parallel to what happened in 1968.
Well, that is true. We got to go now. I agree with that. But at the same time, I think the bigger issue was, which I still think is that if they have Donald Trump in there are forces out of United States which will control him, and that will be end of probably the NATO also, and maybe a long-term damage to relation between the NATO and United States, and that will actually fuel the expansion dreams of some of those rulers. So that is something, which we have to continue. We are running out of time today, but I promise you that I will bring him back. I will tell him to come in more prepared for whatever we are talking about, and I will also be more prepared to dig out even deeper into it, what's going on. Till next time, good night and good luck.